So we're videoing this now, and basically we went back to compressed charcoal because what's that for, class? Not everybody at once. Thank you, somebody. It's what is it, 12:30? You guys should be awake by now. But then we have to use this to kind of like, you always want to use the side. One thing I was gonna also remember I talked a little bit last class. Let's go back to this mid-gray. This is for mid-gray. This is called vine charcoal. This is thick vine charcoal here. This is thin. This is what we start our drawing off with to do the gesture. Remember, that's what I was trying to get you guys to say, is very lightly with the gesture. Now if you'll flip back to our lovely model olive there, we're just trying to get a gesture of the pose. We have, let's review a little bit. What's the model? Why did I get a wooden model? For breaking the figure down to what?
Geometric shapes.
Geometric shapes, its essence, basically. Its essence as kind of like these geometric shapes. This is a great way for people that haven't drawn the figure very often or very limited to kind of get better at drawing the figure very quickly, because once you get better at this, then it makes actually putting the figure together a lot easier. But you kind of start off with these basic shapes. So the foot shape, like I said in last class, is kind of a wedge shape when we get to that point. Then we have long, narrow cylinders for the leg, upper and lower part of the leg, like this and to that. And then the bottom part of the torso is a short, wide, kind of trapezoidal shape that's actually a cylinder, but it's larger on the bottom than on the top. Then this one would be an actual cylinder, but the sides would be kind of curved, just like that. You can flip back to the model and show. But I'm saying if we were to draw this in 3 dimensions. Okay, yeah, we're multitasking, aren't we? Here, I'll pick this back up. You got it? And then the head is what? What's the head? Let's do a review for those of you who are in class. What's the head? How do we start that off, generically speaking?
An upside down egg.
Upside down egg, basically, where the chin is the point. Or the egg doesn't actually have a point, but where it's kind of almost a point, that would be kind of considered the chin. And you would tilt that back. The neck is what? What's the neck? Come on, guys. A cylinder, right? And then the upper torso is a trapezoidal shape that's flipped upside down, that's kind of a cylinder, sort of like this trash can shape. Show that where the foot's sitting on. That trash can is kind of the bottom of the trash can is wider, or it's the same shape at the bottom, but it's a little bit bigger. So the reverse happens to the upper torso, as you can see, generically speaking. And then the arms are long, skinny cylinders, right? A lot of this stuff we did in the still life, correct? So it's kind of a continuation in many respects of some of the shapes that you've already dealt with. This is also, and I'm not trying, like I said, I always have underlying reasonings behind why. I really wanted to get the mannequin because it is kind of a segue from the shapes that we just dealt with into the figure. And it also, I found that it keeps people from being so intimidated by drawing a figure, because you're thinking of it just simply as shapes. It's not, there's nothing, we're not worried about the personality. That's later on. Right now we just need to figure out how to draw it. We can worry about the personality as we get better at doing this. So the formal elements is what we have to concern ourselves with yet before we think about the object or the subject so much, or especially the subject matter. That's usually the way that I operate, is we need to understand how to draw before we worry about what to draw. That seems to be an easier way of, because that's something down the road, how to draw it is one thing, and once you get better at that, you're like, wow. Unless you're like Matisse, who always thought about form and didn't, subject matter was not the main interest. If you look at art history, but it was more about all the elements of art: line, color, value, shape, texture, space. You got to get better at those things, and then it makes all the other stuff when you're starting to make stories with your work, or you're creating a narrative. Now, your midterm drawing and your final drawing outside of class, which is due at the end of the week, right? And then you need to bring those in next Monday for us to look at as a critique, okay? You need to physically bring those in so we can put them up and just, we're not here to, the midterm critique, that goes for you guys as well. Here, let me jaw with these guys for a minute. So for you guys as well, the midterm critique, you need to, if you're near campus, please physically bring the drawings in and at least drop them off, bare minimum, drop them off in the drawing room. They have to be from life. They have to be completely cross-hatched in, except for the lightest areas. Remember, I showed you some good examples. I think my boss hijacked those drawings. I gotta get those because they were really good examples. Or do you see them sitting over there? Remember the drawing of the house? It was up there, and I don't know, it may be up in here. I'll see if I can get those. I want to put those examples up because he really pushed the darks to get the contrast. And the same thing with this drawing here. We used the compressed charcoal for the darkest areas. Let's flip down. I'm kind of moving around, but let's see, you can see that. Really want to push the contrast. When we're doing this again, here was a big thing that I talked about last class. When you have a wide piece of charcoal like this, what did I tell you to do? Use the side of it, but also go, if the leg's long ways, which it is, curve against that. Like this. Can you guys see that? Curve against the image, or against the shape, or with the shape on the side of it, instead of going long ways. Because this helps make, you see how I've got these curves to kind of reinforce the curve. Am I going off the page? Can you guys see me? Barely. This makes the leg feel like it's rounded. The same thing with the eraser. When you're using the eraser, take your eraser and kind of flatten it out like this. Curve for your highlighted side. That was too highlighted. Curve with, and then I took out too much, but anywhere where you have a curved area, the oval, the top of the head. Now I'm going off the page, aren't I? Can you back this up? Here. Thank you. I got it. Never mind. I got it. Yeah. So with this, it's almost, you treat it almost as a spherical shape. So you want to curve with the eraser. Same thing with the arms. Even though we've got a dark here, you want to go that way, but you can also counter that by curving with the shape of the arm, like that. You don't want to constantly go down, because what happens is it looks like what I call zebra stripe syndrome. If you're going with the shape constantly, it starts to look striped, and we want it to look natural. So curve that way. And then you can counter that by smoothing it out this way. That would be a great way to do it. So you can go back and forth. See how I'm going with the arm, but then I'm going, what I did underneath went against. It gives it a good combination of showing the length of the arm, but also the roundness. We're trying to show both. You understand? That's really important. To get the three-dimensionality, we don't want flatness right now. Flatness is easy. Three-dimensionality is a little more challenging. I want you to try to do that. Now, there's some sides that are going to be flat. If you have a flat side, obviously, you're just going to show. See, I screwed that up. That should have been dark on that side than the opposite, but that's okay. That's the lightest. And then this is the darkest. So I may actually use your darkest areas you want to use, and you can kind of smooth out the edges. They don't have to be really sharp. You want to blend as you're going. That goes for everybody. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So you're going to draw this now. Everybody come up here and get you a piece of vine charcoal. We're getting started on this. So set up something on the large. You need to go ahead and get somebody to model for you. Doesn't have to be the same pose because that would be hard to hold for a while. But something similar where they're at least standing for a while. And draw just like we're starting with. Start with a thin piece of vine charcoal. Draw it very lightly. Draw the person very lightly, standing back, maybe 10 feet away. And keep sitting or standing, or you probably want to sit to draw somebody. Have the lights off in the room except one light coming down, if you can, so that you're getting strong contrast. Just like, and then show this, just like our lovely olive here. See all that contrast? So we want that. All right, anybody have any questions? Are we good? Okay, get to work because everything's due this Friday, including your midterm drawing. Everything's due this Friday. This drawing, midterm drawing. I'm not going to assign anything else. We're just going to focus on this for a while. All right?
You have a question?
Yes, sir. Who's got a question? Yes, go ahead.
Do you want us drawing her from like behind?
That's up to you. You need to move to wherever you want that makes you feel more comfortable. If you don't want behind, then move to side.
That'd be good.
I mean, if you can draw, I don't care. It's up to you. But if you're not comfortable with that, then move to another area. That's up to you.
Are we good on this?
Yes, sir. Thank you.